Good morning, America. Good evening, India. This is Sean Shakaran, General Secretary, Indian Overseas Congress. Today, I'm with our beloved chairman, Sam Pitroda, the former advisor for Prime Ministers Rajiv Gandhi, many others. So, I'm going to let him give a quick introduction about this topic, Gandhian Changemakers. This is the third in the series, Gandhi at 155. We are going to talk about Amul and Kurien. I'll let Sam give a quick introduction and then we'll have the story from Bala. Go ahead, Sam.
Thanks, Sean. Thank Priyamvada for organizing this on a regular basis. I know it's a lot of work. We get to sort of show up at the last minute, but you guys put this together. So really appreciate. Welcome, Bala, again.
Thank you.
And today's topic is basically to introduce to our younger friends cooperatives in India and what happened during Congress era. Because general impression based on what media promotes is nothing got done in 70 years. Even the Prime Minister of India says nothing got done for 70 years, which is all bogus, lie, misunderstanding, and a propaganda. If we didn't plant the seeds at the right time for the right things, whether it is IIT, IIM, cooperatives, telecom, software, IT, Panchayat Raj, oil seed mission, literacy, immunization, polio eradication of guinea worm, we wouldn't be where we are. We are at a takeoff point because a lot of groundwork was done for 70 years, hard work, under difficult circumstances when people didn't want to privatize. People didn't have the education, infrastructure. We had no talent. We had no capital. Now, our talent is globally recognized, celebrated. We have enough capital to do things. I remember the day when we had only $1 billion worth of foreign exchange reserve or something similar to that, which could last in those days only for 6 weeks. Now we are sitting on $600-700 billion worth of foreign exchange reserve. It didn't happen overnight. It did definitely happen in the last 10-15 years. So Bala is going to talk today more about cooperatives, Amul Cooperative, how cooperatives work. I don't think many people understand how cooperatives work. There are huge cooperatives in America. Even for things like orange juice, there is a cooperative. You go Google and you'll find a headquarter for cooperatives in Washington, D.C. And you start looking at their website and interactions, and you will see billions and billions of business is handled by cooperatives in America. But what is fashionable today is rich and famous. And as a result, people discuss only billionaires and listen to them, and not heads of the cooperatives who organize billions and billions of dollars worth of business for public good. And I think that's the conversation we are going to have. And Bala is going to educate us on what is cooperative, why cooperative, how does it work, what got done in the past, where are we today, and what are the real opportunities in cooperatives. You can have cooperatives for banana, mango, coconut, furniture, bamboo sticks. You could have cooperatives for brassware. You could have cooperatives for anything if you organize yourself. And this will allow us to really lift millions and millions below poverty line to a respectable standard of living. There'll be some equity, and there'll be wealth distributed to other people, and you won't have the kind of concentration of wealth that we have today. So that's one idea that we are going to explore together. And it is very Gandhian. Kurien himself told me all the stories. We were very close friends. I used to go stay with him on and off in Anand to his nearby university, gave a couple of talks, convocation speech. He and his wife were very kind, great host. And Kurien started this when he was very young. He had just come back from America. And Tribhuvan Patel, who was Gandhian, really gave him the direction and support. And I'm sure Bala will talk at length about this. So I request Bala to educate all of us, and then we'll have a broader conversation. Thank you, Bala. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Sam. Shan,
Without much ado, without much ado, Bala, you want to give a quick maybe one-liner, or shall we get into the PowerPoint directly?
We can get into the PowerPoint. First slide.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bala, can you come a little closer to microphone so we can hear you better?
Yeah, sure, Mr. Sam.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Like Gandhi's prayers, every day Gandhi's ashram used to have a prayer in the evening. I think all presentations to Gandhi's idea should start with this talisman. So can we go to the first slide, Shan? This is Gandhi's talisman. Anyone who wants to understand Gandhi or wants to follow Gandhi, who wants to take up Gandhi's ideals, this is the shortest definition he has given for his way. I shall give you a talisman. When faced with a dilemma as to what your next step should be, remember the most wretched and vulnerable human being you ever saw. The step you contemplate should help him. This is the basis for all Gandhian principles, policies, and constructive programs. Next slide. When I studied agriculture, I was typically given some definitions about economics, the conventional definitions. The conventional definition says economics is a science which studies human behavior as a relationship between ends and scarce means, which have alternative uses. This is one of the standard definitions. Those days it was popular. Now the definition has moved a bit more, a bit sophisticated. Now it says that economics is a social science that studies production, distribution, and consumption of goods and services. Now, this is the way the conventional scientists or the economists looked at it, but Gandhi had a different idea. Gandhi put in a norm to this entire science. It says the world has enough to fulfill everyone's needs, but not enough to feed one man's greed. To give you an example, this
not is missing.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll add that. Yeah, sorry. To give you an example, this year the Indian economy, we produced 330 million food grains, tons of food grains, which means 33 crores of tons of food grains, which is 33,000 kgs of food grain, 33,000 crores of kgs of food grains. If you divide by 140 crores, every man has close to around 205 kgs per annum. And that should mean that there should be no poverty, no starvation in India. But India yet ranks one of the very low in terms of starvation and poverty. Why? This is the problem. Today we will try and see how we can address through Gandhian ways. And critics say that Gandhian approach brings in a value norm. Science has to be studied as a science. Nobody understands even this conventional definition assumes that every player in the society has equal capability to participate in the economic decision making. Not everyone may. More than 60-70% of the people have very little say in their choices. They live a life of penury or poverty out of no choice. So let's understand how this Gandhian approach of feeding or fulfilling everyone's basic needs in the coming slides.
Is the equal participation is the underpinning of this whole cooperative stuff?
Yes. We'll go to the next slide. Yeah. See, Gandhi was one politician. He was actually who looked beyond getting independence from British. Those days when everybody were fighting through various methods of getting independence, Gandhi is the one who simultaneously thought what beyond independence. So he was saying that he had an ambition which says that it has to be the Indian society or economic society should be reconstructed from the smallest unit, which is the poorest man. So based on his idea, he had worked out 18 thrust areas various thrust areas: communal unity, Gandhian village industries, sanitation, education, etc. So to work out an economic construction plan, he wanted a survey of a smaller unit. Those days, a taluk is a very cohesive unit, so he wanted that to be done. He wrote an informal note to Kalelkar, who was the vice chancellor of Gujarati Vidyapith, which was founded by Gandhi himself. So Kalelkar writes what Gandhi wrote, says what Gandhi wrote to him. He says in an informal note which Gandhiji handed to me, he expressed a desire that Indian economics should be built from the bottom, by a posteriori method of securing rock bottom facts and drawing therefrom the most rigid process of reasoning scientific conclusions. Look at the word Gandhi is using in his note. Most rigid process of reasoning and scientific conclusions, which no amount of jugglery could controvert. He gave in that note a few ideas how this survey should be done. Now, Gandhi is not known to be somebody who uses words, very casually. He says jugglery. Why would he use a word called jugglery? Because when in the 1940s, the world wars are coming to somewhere an end, and everywhere across the world, democracies were springing up. So Gandhi knew that in the new set of things, unless the voice of the common man is brought in and good livelihood is built in, the existing capitalistic or the existing power centers will again capture the power for themselves, which will ensure that the common man will be kept out of the system. So he wanted a proper survey to be done. Therefore, he was waiting for someone to come. Next slide. Next slide. Yeah. So now comes another man called J.C. Kumarappa. He was born in a Tamil Christian family. He is a chartered accountant. So he went to US to stay with his elder brother for some time. Then he got interested in studying further, and he studied BSc Business Administration in Syracuse University. And then in one of those, part of his extracurricular activities, he was giving a lecture in a local church about India's poverty, why India is poor. And one of his professors read about that particular lecture, and then he advised him to go to Columbia to study a course in public finance. And there he went to Columbia to study public finance. He studied under a professor called Professor Seligman. He was one of the pioneers in progressive taxation. That was the time even the taxation, which are hitherto were regressive, because the kings or the large empires used to actually take a lot of tax from the poorest of the people. So that was a time where the society was evolving. The concept of progressive taxation was coming up. So he studied under him, and he did a thesis with India's poverty and British taxation, where he found that some of the points why India is poor. One is that the Indian poor is taxed very high. For example, very basic goods like taxes, salt were taxed very high, or the land taxes were very high, and at the same time, a bloated bureaucracy which was paid very high amount of salary. So he made that into a thesis, and when he returned to India, somebody advised him that he should meet Gandhi, because this thesis Gandhi will be interested in publishing. So he went and met Gandhi. So while Gandhi had heard about this particular thesis through Mahadev Desai, he asked him to join Gujarati Vidyapith. And then he says that please do a survey for me. So when he was thinking about conducting an economic survey, Kumarappa came as almost like a solution. So somebody who was very impressed, Rajendra Prasad told Gandhi that you have developed or you have trained Kumarappa very well in your way of thinking. But Gandhi said, no, he was a ready-made solution. He came to me in the just right time. So that's how this particular moment happened. Next. So he did a survey of taluk called Mata Taluk in Kheda district in Gujarat. So he was the director of research, and the chairman was Vallabhbhai Patel. So they have surveyed 51 villages, 1,213 families. Average family size those days was 5, and the number of families they worked out. Kumarappa worked out what is the minimum amount of salary which is needed for a family of 5 to live reasonably comfortable. 3 square meals, a house, and probably some surplus for education and healthcare. He worked out that somewhere around 50 rupees per month. That is 600 rupees per annum should be the minimum earning. That out of the 1,200 families, only 14 families were getting that kind of income. All the remaining 98.4% were much below. Not even 50 rupees. They were hardly getting 8 to 9 rupees per month. 5 people. So that is a kind of poverty levels which was prevailing then. And then he compared average farmer, the Mata Taluka farmer, with an average American factory worker. That he found that more than 95%, in some cases 100% of the earnings goes only for basic food and a small hut kind of a thing. whereas an average American factory worker spends less than 50% of his income on these basic requirements. So this is the anomaly which the survey threw up scientifically. And at the time, he also ensured that the salary of a district collector was 5,200 rupees a month.
No, it can't be.
Yes, sir.
No, it is 200 rupees.
The collector salary for collector?
Yes, it cannot be 5,200 in those days. This is 100 years ago.
This is 1913. I'll send you the report itself.
It is wrong.
Okay.
This is definitely wrong. Per year it could be, but definitely not 5,200 rupees per month. No way.
Noted, sir. I'll come back. I think this was picked up in the survey. I'll come back. Maybe I'm wrong.
Thank you.
Go to the next point. So therefore, Kumarappa met Gandhi in 1929. End of 1929, this survey happened. Somewhere around 30, Gandhi sends his message to the Viceroy, and the Salt Satyagraha starts. Gandhi had put 11 important demands. Most of them are well known as basically reduction of tax on salt, import duty for foreign goods which has to be imported, reduction of military expenditure, reduction of salaries of civil servants, and it also asked for a boycott of foreign clothes. And then Salt Satyagraha is what made Gandhi to come to a world stage, because 1922, though he had started the non-cooperation, this Salt Satyagraha presented him a right place, and his struggle or the Satyagraha was reported widely, because that was the time the evolution of media was also coming in a big way. And that created a massive impact on the government of India. The import of British manufactured clothes fell by 50%. The Indian budget, 1931 budget, they expected as a surplus of 10 lakh rupees. It ended up with a deficit of 13.5 crore. Those days, the budget was somewhere around 170 to 200 crores. That's the kind of size the Indian budget had. So what happened was, as Sattvic protest created a damage to the enemy, almost as much as probably a violent project also sometimes creates a damage in terms of destruction. Next.
I have one, if you permit me, Bala, I have one question for Sam actually. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Sure. So Sam, why there is no kind of this kind of innovative protest, which is very Sattvic in nature, non-violent in nature, possible, which is also can create an economic dent and get the wider imagination of the entire world? Is it possible in this current scheme of things, in this modern 2024 world? Why we are not able to go to the same extent or the vigor?
I don't understand. Say it again.
No, is there one more Satyagraha of sorts possible in 2024?
Times are very different. A lot of these demonstrations don't get the right kind of media attention. One can try, but the probability of success today is very low. Okay. Unless you can mobilize large number of people for long enough time, you don't have the kind of people you had during independence movement who would sacrifice everything. Today, people won't even sacrifice one meal. Okay, they want it now. They want instant gratification. They wear fancy watches. They don't wear simple clothes like people used to. So Satyagraha has a lot to do with your lifestyle, your belief, and I don't think it is possible today.
The enemy was from outside, the enemy is within now. That is another big challenge now. I see.
It's very difficult.
Sure.
Okay.
Sorry for the interruption.
No problem. Next slide.
Yeah.
So this led to, beyond Salt Satyagraha, both Gandhi and Kumarappa were arrested, and after that there was a Bihar earthquake, so which went into a period of lull. But as soon as the Bihar earthquake rehabilitation work was over, Gandhi was back into action. So he created something called the All India Village Industries Association. He proposed this in 1934 Varanasi Congress, where he proposed himself as a president and Kumarappa as a secretary. The whole of Congress was very happy to give that to him, because nobody is really interested in.
But look at the board. Look at the board.
Yeah.
C.V. Raman, J.C. Bose, P.C. Ray, M.A. Ansari. You don't have people like that.
Right. See, we all think
these are the best of the best brains dedicated to a cause for village.
Science minds and village itself is like a great thinking,
I
right?
mean, you look at this list and you say, oh my God,
Yeah.
Vallabhbhai Patel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, who are these people?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. They are stalwarts
Yeah.
and they are interested in village industry. Today,
Absolutely.
if the guy is smart, he's a billionaire and he doesn't want to even talk to the poor people.
Yeah. Correct. Correct. So the part is that Gandhi has been always portrayed as somebody who was very backward, regressive, and all that. But he got us C.V. Raman, Jesse Bose, and Ansari and P.C. Ray to be in the board. That is the kind
Amazing.
of yeah. That's the kind of zeal Gandhi had for progressive way of doing things. Is the point.
Amazing.
Yeah, and in 2 years they have streamlined 12 rural industries, a lot of industries, khadi, jaggery making, and a lot of other industries they have made, and they have presented to the Congress. But the Congress was not very enthusiastic. Everyone, including even Jayaprakash Narayan, they were all thinking that this is something. What will this village cottage industry do? Because those days the dream was industrialization, the modernization like Europe and Soviet. That kind of dream was there in everybody's mind. They never understood the possibility or impact of rural employment oriented kind of rejuvenation of industries. That's the point which is being made. So this is the place where Kumarappa stayed and worked in Maganwadi in Varda. Next.
See, the office itself is still some message, kind
Yeah.
of the simplistic nature and approach.
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
See, this at the same time, there was another thing which was happening. A problem was happening in Kedah district in 1946. In the 1940s, the government, British government, had created two plans. One is Bombay plan, another one is Delhi plan. Basically, these cities were becoming very big, and the basic needs were to be supplied. So they gave contracts to private trade to bring milk to and then supply to Bombay. So they had given this contracts were typically monopoly contracts. So one was something called Polson's, which was owned by a Parsi gentleman called Pestonji Edulji. What happened was he used to procure milk and supply to Anand. But then milk has its own season. There is something called a flush season. There is something called a dry season. Indian agriculture starts giving some results or some benefits during October, November, which is the first end of Kharif season where the crops come for harvest. The rainfall, almost 90% of the country receives rainfall. The crops are grown, crops are harvested, milk production is very high. That time what happens is the production will be much higher than the demand. So this Paulson's was not procuring enough. Similarly, when the the production goes down during summer months, he was still not giving a good price. So both ways, the farmers were losing money. In the sense, during peak season, flush season, this guy was not procuring. So the milk was left out in the farmer's home, and it's wasted. So the farmers had this problem, and they went and complained to Vallabhbhai Patel. And Vallabhbhai Patel called his deputy Morarji Desai and told him to go and help these people out. So Morarji Desai met the farmers of Kedah district and their leader called Tribundas Patel. That was the first step in the entire process of Amul getting created. Next. Morarji Desai advised the farmers that you all get together, because the farmers were all small farmers. They're not big farmers. Nobody can create or invest in dairy farm themselves. So it started in 1946 with two village cooperatives. 247 liters was the first consignment sent from Anand to Bombay. And then as the demand was regular in Bombay, the volume of milk procured by the village cooperatives went up, but they had a problem. They had a problem because peak summer months, whatever they do to preserve the quality of milk, because of the high temperatures, milk used to be spoiled by the time it reached Bombay. So Mr. Tribundas Patel had a problem of this problem to be resolved. That was the time, like your Kumarappa came to Gandhi. Dr. Kurien came to Tribundas Patel. Kurien was actually working in a creamery, next slide, creamery next to this Anand Amul
I have
Cooperative.
one question on this. Are you okay, Bala? Asking?
Yeah.
So, why Morarji thought the farmer should farm a cooperative? See, why he wanted to cut down the middleman, and why he thought farmers, even though they are a very smallest set of people, how they can coming together is going to farm may be helpful for them.
See, for example, the Paulson's dairy in Anand at the time was created at an investment of close to few lakhs of rupees. So the farmers didn't have the money to have that kind of an investment. Number one. Number two, all these farmers have to come together. That's the only way they can become a larger economic unit. They can supply to a market like Bombay. Otherwise, individual farmers cannot load his 5 liters and 10 liters. So the size of the operations, economic need necessitated that they get together and then start procuring large quantities sent to Bombay. That was a natural solution.
Good. Sounds good.
If there are a farmer with 500 milch animals or 1,000 milch animals, he could have directly, I mean, he does not need a Vallabhai Patel Moraji. He could have done himself. The Indian farm size being small, the number of animals being less is a structural problem. That is the only, the important, intuitively, both Gandhi and Kumarba understood, but Nehruvians did not understand. For long, they were still thinking about creating cooperative, big farms like Soviet Union. They're all not going to work. They can join together to market their produce, but the lands cannot be consolidated. That was a big problem at that time. So it was a natural kind of a solution, is what I think. So Dr. Kurien, who had returned from Michigan University, he was to be, he studied in Government of India scholarship, and then he had to serve in Indian government, one of the Indian government organizations. So he was working in the creamery, which was next door to the Anand Cooperative. So he had completed sometime, he decided to quit Anand, and so he went and met Tribhuvan Das Patel to tell him that I'm going to quit. I'm just leaving this place, just wanted to say bye to you. Tribhuvan Das Patel at the time told him that I have this problem, can you help me? Then Kurien took it upon himself. He went to Bombay, worked with L&T, and got a plate pasteurizer, and then brought it back, installed it, and resolved the problem for Anand Cooperative. Then Kurien, Tribhuvan Das Patel said, why don't you stay with us? So, I mean, Kurien accepted and stayed. After that, he never left Anand from then onwards. That's a kind of relationship which started, blossomed between the two. So,
And the interesting thing here is, for people who don't know, Kurien was from Kerala.
yeah.
Kurien did not speak Gujarati.
Yeah.
And they form a special bond. Tribhuvan Bhai and Kurien
And
complemented each other's capability, understood, became very close family friends, and Kurien respected a great deal what Tribhuvan Das Patel would say.
Yeah. Different faiths. Kurien is a meat eater. Tribhuvan Das is a pure
Amazing.
vegetarian.
Amazing. And Kurien spent his entire life in Gujarat.
Yes.
And that's the beauty of India.
And we are very glad to hear somebody who have met and worked with Kurien Sam, like you.
Oh, he was a very close friend. On the technology mission on oil seeds, we worked together.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Next. So starting from 247 liters in 1946, today Amul procures 2.3 crore liters every day. Amul is expanding every month. So this is the size of Amul's growth. And most of the Amul's milk producers are small farmers with 2 to 3 milch animals, not more than that. But what happens is Amul delivers 80% of the price paid by the consumer to the producer as a cost of production. This, I think, is the most important, most crucial element of milk cooperatives, especially Amul. Sam talked about huge cooperatives in US. And even in Europe, we have a lot of cooperative organizations. The difference is there, what happens is the processing and branding somehow is moved out of the producers, and retailing, of course, is with the retail chains. So what happens is the consumers pay money, out of which less than 40% only reaches the producer. But in the Indian case, the price paid by an Amul, if you buy an Amul milk packet at 60 rupees, the farmer gets close to 48 rupees as the cost of production. This particular, I would say, the core element of Amul Cooperative is the one which makes it very successful and consistently successful for more than 78 years now. So the second point, another point, what happened, I think, as Mr. Sam very rightly said, Kurien was a technocrat. Tribhuvan Das was the local leader, farmer leader. They merged very nicely, not only plate pasteurizing. After some time, they have decided they had a problem of plenty. During flush season, the milk availability was very high. Amul could not dispose of all the milk in one go. So they decided they will convert that milk into powder and then use the powder to reconstitute milk during summers. So the demand of the milk products is even, but the production is seasonal. So Amul wanted to convert the flush production or the surplus production during the season, convert them into milk, and convert the milk powder and use that milk powder to reconstitute and supply as liquid milk during summer months. So when they tried to do that, they realized that maximum milk comes from buffalo in Gujarat, and buffalo milk has a very higher fat percentage. But the milk powder technology, which was available till then, was only for cow's milk, which has got a much lesser, which almost half the percentage of fat. So when Kurien approached Nestle to help them with a plant, construct a plant, they refused to give the technology. Then he, along with his own college mate called Dalaya, they together, along with the help of L&T in India, they created a spray drying powder plant for buffalo's milk. So this is the next best thing which has happened in Amul's case. It wouldn't have been
Indigenous
possible.
development. It is more
Yes.
about indigenous development, local talent, local needs, local problem solving.
Correct. So this, when this was so successful, then I think when they created that milk powder plant on October 31st, which was Vallabhbhai Patel's birthday, which Nehru came to inaugurate, that was the largest milk powder plant in Asia. I mean, you can imagine the kind of enterprising thing which Tribhuvandas Patel and Kurien did together. It is something, today these sizes look very small because we got used to it. But when you look at 1946, where even there were no roads in the first place, to create a milk powder plant, 1950s. Amazing kind of enterprising. And then after this, Lal Bahadur Shastri saw that he was very surprised that, I mean, how come a place like Uttar Pradesh, which has got Murrah buffaloes, one of the most best yielding Murrah buffaloos, there was no water scarcity, whereas Gujarat is almost half of Gujarat is desert. How is this Amul successful here? So he came down, he stayed with a village cooperative, a small village, talked to the farmers, and they realized, apart from technology, it is the business enterprise of producers. Producers got themselves together, they created the technology for themselves, they themselves took the product to the consumer. It completely removed the role of a middleman, a trader, or a processor. No, nobody was there. Amul producer directly delivers to the consumer in Bombay. So then he said, "Please take this up across the country." But unfortunately, he died after that. Then the next prime minister who came, Indira Gandhi, helped him to formulate the 1971 Operation Flood, and for which the money did not come from Government of India. He got FAO funding, and he went and created cooperatives across the country. Every state cooperative was formed. That's how this entire process worked out. And somewhere around 1996, I think when technology machines started supporting, 1996, India became the largest producer of milk. This is the story in short, how it became probably the largest India becoming largest producer of milk.
Let me add one or two lines, if you allow me, Bala.
Yes, sir.
Rajiv Gandhi once called me and said, "Sam, we need to be largest producer of milk." He said, "Kurien is in town, go meet him." So Kurien was staying at Asoka Hotel. So I called Kurien at the hotel in his room, and he said, "Why don't you come, we'll have lunch." So he and I met at Ashoka Hotel. This was 1988. And he said, "Yes, Prime Minister spoke to me and he wants me to talk to you, see if we can set up a mission on milk production, because you already have 5 missions. He wants to add a 6th one." We had 5 missions, one on drinking water, immunization, literacy, cooking oil, and telecom. So we spent some time. He said, "Come in the evening, we'll have drink together." So he and I sort of clicked as friends. And he said, "What would you like to accomplish?" I said, "Kurien, I would like to be the largest producer of milk in the world. 1-point program. This is where this comes from." I said, "If I want to get involved, we got to be the largest producer of milk in the world." And he got excited. He said, "This is the kind of vision we need." And in about a couple of months, he invited me to Anand. Had almost 2,000 people there, cooperative people. There's a big event planned in Anand where he spoke, I spoke, and we announced the mission on milk production with one basic idea, that we want to be the largest producer of milk in the world. Here it is.
Yeah,
That's how seeds get planted.
exactly.
Political will, domain expertise, and execution.
Yeah, very true.
If there was no political will, it wouldn't have happened. If there was no domain expertise like Kurien, it wouldn't have happened. They go hand in hand. Thank you.
And the last
Exactly.
piece, execution, is very important, right? Which
Very
is
important. Yeah.
so.
Next.
Sam and Balav, this is a question for both of you. What is this technology mission thing? Is it about using this automation or a global or building this indigenous technology? What do you guys call as
No,
technology?
technology mission was all about using technology to solve large national challenges. It is about technology mindset, scientific approach. It was about management. It was about measurable, deliverable milestones, mobilizing resources. Okay. Each mission, there were 6 missions. There is a magazine called Seminar. They had a special issue on technology missions. United Nations called a special meeting on technology missions in Poland, where I was invited to deliver series of lectures, and UN published a document on India's technology missions. But this is all history. People don't know these things.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
this,
mission
in
was
fact,
about measurable, deliverable milestones with new management approach. And the idea was to take technology to people. Immunization required technology, desalination plant, satellite imagery, excess iron removal, excess fluoride removal. This was water mission.
absolutely.
Literacy, simple thing like a plastic blackboard. So you don't have to cut wood to create blackboard. Okay. We had to redesign chalk because chalk had this element which used to crack and make squeaky noise. So we had to redesign chalk. Okay. We had to worry about the right kind of oral vaccine. Okay. KPV versus oral. So there were so many things. And I tell you, in those days, it was like being on drug. It was the most romantic period of my life.
Yeah.
Whenever we got on the plane, there were 11 of us who took flight together. 6 mission directors, Jairam and I. We had a very well-known PR guy who was with us, Jarsan Dakuna. Then sometimes Bankar Roy will travel. And we went to every state, met with every chief minister and launched missions in their states. And it was an exciting way of doing things. Okay. That's what it takes.
I have one question on the indigenous technology building for both of you. See, Korean challenged even Nestle, a global corporation, to build such a magnanimous stuff. And Sam, you also challenged a lot of global telecom players to build whatever
Yeah,
rural
sure.
exchange. So,
Ericsson, Siemens,
yeah,
all of them.
yeah. So that is this always this global whatever this capitalistic nexus, right? So when you are building something indigenous, which is again some Gandhian values, which is
It's a
where
very complicated fight.
yeah,
It is a very complicated fight. I fought with French. Mitterrand had come to India, and Mitterrand was told that be careful with Sam Pitroda. This is Mitterrand, President of France. So in a press conference, it is all public knowledge. Somebody asked him that, have you met Sam Pitroda? The press in Mumbai at the Tata Auditorium. And he couldn't remember. So immediately his ambassador said, yes, sir, you have met him last night. He was at the dinner. And everybody knew that I was against E10, which was a CIT Alcatel telephone switch. French top magazine did an entire article on how I was fighting the French multinational. This is part of the game. Okay, it is not for faint-hearted. Let me tell you, Kurien was not faint-hearted.
Yeah.
When we worked on oilseed missions, a normal day would start with fixing oil price. So Kurien cabinet secretary and I would meet in the morning and decide that the price of the oil today would be this.
Yeah.
Because you had in Gujarat what we used to call Telia Mafia.
Telecom.
These are the rich people who control peanut oil prices in India and manipulate. So farmers cannot get the best price. So Kurien had NDDB, and NDDB had at that time 700-800 crore cash. So we decided then that Kurien will buy all the excess oil and store it to fight the oil mafia.
Yeah.
What happens? Murder. Kurien's general manager, who was in charge of this or something, got murdered. It was a signal to us that if you guys do this, this will be your fate. We knew that. Okay, I had several of those cases, even from multinationals. Then Kuriens go down where oil was stored, was burned. Somebody set a fire because they didn't want you to
Be successful.
interfere in their profits. But that's the fight you fight, and that's the thing you learn from Gandhiji.
Yeah.
Okay. And people have no clue as to what these things are. They have no idea. But unfortunately, that's the case. They don't study how these things were fought, how India was built. Okay. India was built by people like Kuriens. So we have to respect lifetime of work.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. So today, Anand Milk Union, that's how the originally the organization started. So they wanted a brand and a brand name. So one of the colleagues of Dr. Kurien suggested Amulya. Amulya means priceless. So then finally a name of Amul was chosen. The little girl with the polka is the response to Paul, since you would have seen the European kid. So this is the Indian version of the same. And today Amul is the biggest brand in India. I'm giving you the comparative numbers of Nestle and Britannia. I'm saying if it is almost 10 times, we are last year they have done 72,000 crores. This year they are expected to touch 80,000 crores. That is not the point. This 80,000 crores is produced by 36 lakh milk producers. That is the most important point. 36 lakh milk producers get out of the 72,000 crores, close to around 57,000 crores is paid to produce milk. Nowhere in the world this kind of a model exists. This is the most important point which we'll never miss. For example, if Nestle makes profits, it goes to a few shareholders. If Britannia makes profit, it goes to a few shareholders. But if Amul does not make profit, Amul's producers, they work out a price of milk based on the cost of input like fodder and labor, and the cost of milk animal, on which they fix a price, and that price they just add the processing cost and the distribution cost and deliver it to the consumer. Today Amul milk at 60 rupees is one of the most, I would say at that price is one of the reasonable prices which you can have a nutritious food item. And that out of that 60 rupees, you are almost talking about 48 rupees goes to the milk producer. That is the point what we are saying. The other point I've put, market capitalization is not applicable. In the next slide I'll explain why.
But if there was a market capitalization,
Yeah,
Amul today would be $120 billion.
Exactly.
Okay, you can just do the mathematics.
Yes.
Amul's market capitalization would be $120 billion.
Yeah. Amazing. Amul does not have great thing. It is run by farmers. It is run by normal executives, normal people.
And as a result, Amul's numbers don't get into the economy.
Correct. It is not shown in the
It is not in your GDP, GNP, per capita income, all that crap.
Correct. And it is not part of your stock market. Therefore, the young earning members, the immediate, the people who get into software industries, they want to invest in stock market. They don't even know what Amul is because of this.
Yes. But $120 billion market cap.
Yeah.
In American parlance, it's $10 billion in sales or $9.5 billion in sales is what they have reached.
Yeah, yes. See, to give an example, Amul is what is called a three-tier model. The first tier is the village milk producers cooperative, where the primary producers, they produce milk and then come twice in a day, morning and evening. They just deliver the milk to the cooperative. The cooperative's job is to collect the milk and then consolidate and send it to the regional milk processing place, where the milk is immediately pasteurized and the excess fat is removed and converted into value-added products and sent to the major urban markets, where the federation, the third tier, takes over and markets, and it reaches the consumer directly. If you have seen this here, all these three tiers are owned by farmer, but the point is, one farmer has only one share. Unlike a private sector enterprise where a promoter can become 51% share or 60% share. So once I create wealth, I create a very successful business entity, I have owned 50%. Therefore, next 10 generations of my family need not worry about money. That's how wealth gets concentrated. But in Amul kind of a model, there is only one share and it is not transferable and it is not sold in stock market. But what is the benefit? If the producer produces 10 liters of milk, he gets a good price. If he produces 1,000 liters of milk, he gets the same price. So the efficiency and equity are interwoven in a cooperative model, where nobody owns the company more than everybody is equal, but everybody benefits to the levels of their contributions to the company. This is an amazing model of efficiency, equity going together, which you will not see in any private sector. And because there is no other, the producer directly reaching out to the consumer, the producer gets the maximum out of the consumer's price, and the consumer, because there are no other profit-seeking intermediaries, those profits are removed and he gets the product at a reasonable price. So this model is probably one of the most sustainable model. And Amul today at 78 years, how many companies do you remember who were successful in 1947 are alive today? Leave 1947. 1991, the new economic policies were announced in this country. How many of those industrial giants or private sector giants are alive today? Amul was 1,000 crore in 1992. Today, they are 80,000 crore. This year, they are going to complete in 2024.
There is
Imagine
a
how many companies have grown to the levels of Amul.
there is a parlance in the startup world, disruptive innovation, Bala. They have made an analysis of Fortune 500 companies 50, 60 years ago.
Yeah,
Maybe less than 10% of the companies are still alive.
correct.
So because the rest of the guys didn't do disruptive innovation. So only
Exactly.
those guys who tried they're disrupting their own business model could survive.
Sure.
So very, very interesting deal.
Yeah. Next slide. So the traditional food business model I'm comparing, what happens is, for example, if I'm producing say paddy, what happens is there is a trader in the village, or one trader for 2-3 villages. He procures the paddy from the farmer directly or through the mandis, and then he then sells it to a rice mill owner, or in case of wheat flour mill owner, and then he adds his margin, manufactures, and he takes it to the consumer. The difference is, this is the difference between a milk and all other agriculture commodity business models, where there are minimum of 2 profit-seeking entries before the product reaches the consumer. This is beautifully one thing what we have to understand. The economic genius of a man called J.C. Kumarappa. He says the farther the producer, 2 points he makes in his thing. One is that the farther the producer from the end consumer, the lesser the money he gets. Number 2, he says the produce of a farmer, which is what, say 100 rupees, and the 100 rupees in the hands of a trader, they don't have the equal power in the bargaining table, because the trader's money has much more power, is much more powerful than. So that is understanding, intuitive understanding, which helped evolve these kind of organizations in India. Next. So this, I think I've already explained. So the what happens is, the year end, when Amul when they sell everything, initially they pay upfront for the farmers. There's a price fixed, and they add a 20% margin to the cost, and then market at the end of the year. If the expenses are lower than the 20%, the balance is given back to the producers as bonus. Next. So as I've explained this point earlier, why Amul model is unique Even in Western countries, you have large producer cooperatives which are very successful, milk and many other commodities, as Mr. Sam said, but they don't market directly to the consumer. They sell it to the manufacturers, big brands, and then those brands sell it to the big retail outlets. So the net earnings are out of the producers is less than 40% of the price paid by the consumer. Whereas in Indian milk cooperatives, since the milk cooperatives are directly reaching out to the consumers, they get the maximum money paid by the consumers. That is the fact which makes Amul model as unique. Next.
Are there no problems in the supply chain, Bala, without these intermediaries in place?
No, see what happens is supply chain, they use a private intermediary only in the last leg from the dairy after the products are manufactured, like a milk packet is manufactured. To distribute that, there only they're using these local distributors, who is basically a leg worker, which is almost like using a laborer, not a profit-seeking private entity. So therefore, the price paid to the last leg is actually almost like paying the actual cost of distribution. So this, I think, we have again spoken. What happens is Amul model. Typically, what are the salient aspects of Amul model is 80% of Indian farmers are small. Every producer has only one share, and he can't transfer the share. Producer gets benefit to the levels of production, and he gets the maximum out of the consumer price. Since there are no profit-seeking enterprises, intermediaries in between, the consumer also gets the best point. And all these farmers are small farmers. They have only 2 to 3 animals. These animals are reared out of the surplus of the farm. For example, if you cultivate paddy, the animal eats paddy straw. If you have peanut, or if you cultivate groundnut, it eats the groundnut cake. Now we are giving little more now, little better nutrients. But having said that, the Indian milk production is not industrial scale like Europe or America, where you have hundreds of animals kept in a shed, high input, and then it is a typical high carbon footprint industry. But the carbon footprint of the normal milk producer in India is much lower compared to a European or a Western model. So this is the therefore this is much more sustainable, or much more I would say beneficial to the environment compared to the Western model. Is the point we are making here.
I have one question. So there is a slightly communist thinking in this whole of this cooperative model. So, but in the Western or capitalistic world, so usually they will try to kind of scare the world. Okay, the world is becoming communistic or whatever, right? Even in America is very scared of this word communism, but they are not scared of this word cooperative. So, how we can try to enlighten this advantages of the cooperative model?
But
So,
there is cooperative model in America.
yeah, no,
It is
but
big. It's
yeah,
big.
it's big.
Okay.
No, but I'm trying to see, Sam, how we can try. There is a slightly underpinning that communist angle, right? Communist angle where share
It's
the
all bogus.
benefit.
It's all bogus. This is all PR. It's all bogus. There is no when you share profit with your larger stakeholders, that doesn't become communist. What is the difference here? Rather than optimizing shareholder value, you are optimizing stakeholder value.
Yeah, as
Fundamental
simple as that.
difference. Okay.
Sure.
It has nothing to do with communism, nothing to do with socialism. Okay. You are optimizing stakeholder value and not shareholder value. Finish.
Okay.
Okay. If you believe in it, you are with me. If you don't believe in it, you can't be with me. Whatever label you want to put. Okay. I don't want to get into that debate, because then you will get into some other economic conversation. No. I don't want to be dragged into that.
Okay. No, but the economic
Shan
will try
to explain.
Yeah,
Shan to explain. Post 1991, the dairy industry has been liberalized. Today, Amul is fighting with the private sector on equal footing. But the
Right.
problem today, private sector is not able to fight with Amul. That's a reality. The reason
Exactly.
being, its supply chain is the most lean of all the compared to private sector, and there is no great incentive. I would say greed for profits. Therefore, they are able to price their produce lower. So at that price levels, the private sector. I've been part of a private sector organization which had a dairy. The net margin of Amul, the milk for a private sector is 7 to 8%. You know that consumer product companies do not operate anything less than 45 to 50% margins. So at 7 to 8% margin, they're finding it difficult to manage their enterprise, giving their all the requirements, high salaries and high profit expectation. They are not able to manage. So today, Amul or any other cooperative dairy product is fighting with Nestle's of the world. Please understand. There's no communism means what? Communism bars other people from doing. There is
It's
no
all
bar here.
bogus.
Yeah, this is a open competition which is open for everyone. Cooperatives are winning hands down.
And the other interesting thing is Amul never acts like a monopoly.
Yes.
Okay. Amul never acts like a monopoly in the business. If somebody else with a private ownership was in this position, they will kill competition.
Yeah.
They'll do price gouging.
Yeah.
They'll manipulate the market, and they will kill competition.
Yeah.
Okay. So we are taught wrong things in the business world. And I've been fighting this, but people think I'm crazy. That you don't want to teach optimization of IRR. You want to teach optimization of stakeholder value. Then only there'll be some income equality.
Correct.
Business schools promote income inequality, promote elite, promote strategies that really benefit very few.
Correct.
Because you scratch my back and I'll scratch your back. Okay. And poor person is not part of the elite community that goes to Harvard or any other business school.
Absolutely.
Okay. They don't teach Amul model. This should be the biggest case study you could find.
Exactly. $120
Okay.
billion.
Every university, every MBA should teach this as a course or some case study. They don't do it.
I think by mistake, the entire the modern business school, teaching everything talks about a model which is almost like a musical chair competition where everybody wants to win, and in every round somebody gets elbowed out. But Amul model of cooperative is that together everyone is benefiting.
Exactly.
If Amul is not there, you have had a Nestle doing the entire thing, selling milk at 200 rupees, and large portion of the people will be out because Nestle could have procured milk at a much lower price, because it is happening in Maharashtra where there is no good cooperative. Milk is sold at 25 rupees and 30 rupees, whereas Amul pays 48 rupees per liter.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So what would have been happened if the situation of milk cooperatives were not there in India? You can see what is happening in vegetables like tomatoes. If you see the peak season, October, November, December, that's when the crop comes to the market. The prices crash. Sometimes the farmers don't have enough money to even harvest the crop. They just they plow the land with the crop itself, or they bring it to the mandi. They realize the price is not good. They throw the product on the roadside, and it happens. It would have happened in milk as well. But what Amul has done, all the milk cooperatives have done, is they procured the entire production during peak season and stored it and saved it, and then they used it to serve during off season. Thereby, during peak the prices of procurement prices remain stable. Since the end product is also stored throughout this year, the end price is also stable. You don't see a stable price possibility in any other agriculture commodities apart from milk. That is the biggest contribution of they have just married both production and consumption in such a way, seamless way, that it benefits all. Next. So the difference, what is the contribution of milk to the government? See, we are the largest producer, and milk is the largest value adding part in overall agricultural scenario. It is 20% of agriculture economy, and it is dominated by milk producers cooperative. The best part, it does not ask for any subsidy. Whereas food grains, we are the second largest. But it is every year out of 45 lakh crores, the government spends 3 lakh crores as subsidy. If the government removes this 3 lakh crores, the food grain production will come to a crash in 2 years' time.
Sam, you are on mute. Sam, you are on mute.
Shan, I have another call at 10 o'clock.
Okay, sure, sir.
So I got to go. You can continue this conversation.
Sure.
Mala can interact and people can interact with Bala.
Sounds good.
It was a great presentation, Bala. Really appreciate your putting together these slides. I'm sure Sean and other help. But let's just continue this conversation.
Sure, Sam.
Thank
Okay,
you.
Bala?
So we are getting Bang and a few more other Gandhian environmentalists for the
Yeah,
subsequent.
but let's have this,
Sure.
cooperative model
Yeah.
wrapped up a little bit.
Sure.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Sounds good. Thank you, Sam.
Sure. Okay. So the difference for the government, even for the government, if you have to selfishly look at us, the milk model is self-sustaining. You don't have to subsidize. The food grain model is not self-sustaining. You have to use 3 lakh crores of money every year. Almost 6 to 7% of government's budget is needed to keep the food grain economy to stand up and running. Next. So the way forward, this is what Mr. Sam would have also agreed. This is the last slide we have completed. So the point is that if our planners and thinkers can remove the blinkers, the way forward is very, very clear. Have farmer organizations where the farmer produces and then they themselves go and deliver it to the consumers. This is very important for India. Basic reason is, unlike US, where 2 to 3% of people are dependent on agriculture, India, even today, 50% of the country is dependent on agriculture. When we got independence, we had almost 80% dependent on agriculture, which was 32 crores of people. Today, we have got 50% of people dependent on agriculture, which is 70 crores of people. So we have double the number of people dependent on agriculture than when we got our independence. So the best thing is that make farmers' life viable, make their income better by creating farmer-centric organizations and remove the unnecessary middleman, and so that the farmers themselves can directly deliver the products to the consumers. That is the model. That is the lesson we can learn out of Amul. Thank you.
In fact, this lesson can be imparted to some other industry, like food grain industries, your thesis.
Correct.
Sure.
For example, when we had this 1 year of farmers struggle on the road, it is not that you can pay people to stay on the road in the extreme winters for 1 year. It is a natural fight, because the farming is becoming so unviable in the last 50 years. Farming has become so unviable that the people had to come onto the road and fight for 1 year. It is not a joke. People don't stay for 1 year. You pay everybody and even 500 rupees a day. Whatever you want to give. People won't stay for more than 2 to 3 hours for a public meeting, political public meeting. But the farmers stood on the road for 1 year means there is genuinely problem with farming. That is what we need to understand.
So I'll just read through some of the comments. Very good initiative to bring some facts to the table for the generation who does not have context. And Tamil Selvan is saying, utterly butterly Amul, there is no point in comparing US economy versus Indian, both are different altogether. Mukul Sharma is saying, while on the topic of Amul, I think the recently re-released remastered version of the 1976 movie Manthan is mandatory watch, even though it's slightly fictionalized version. Great admiration for Kurien, sir, for the white evolution. So, okay, some LinkedIn user. Amul is the pain of the Indian milk production. Farmers pay so little and it becomes maximum selling price. 35 rupees a liter they buy, not even cost is covered. So this is maybe a contrarian view. What is your
No,
response?
I think I'm okay. If he feels 35 rupees or whatever the price is lower, he should ask himself what is the price private sector is paying for the farmer. That's the point he might want to.
Lijjat Papat, founded in 1959 by 7 Gujarati women in Mumbai, India, began as a small-scale cooperative and eventually grew into a massive enterprise that empowers women through collective effort, self-reliance, and community values, principles that align with Gandhian ideals. Gandhian principles in Lijjat Papat's model, self-reliance, Swadeshi. Lijjat Papat was started by a very modest capital of rupees 80, focusing on producing a product puppet that was locally made using indigenous resources.
Absolutely. Lijjat Papat is another example. You will be surprised. A lot of such examples come from Gujarat. That is also, it speaks about the basic entrepreneurship of people. There's one more. We have a Gandhian labor organization called Seva in Gujarat, in Ahmedabad, which does a similar service. So these 3-4 are extremely powerful examples.
Very interesting. I think these are some of the comments, interesting comments. So, Mukul Sharma is saying, you are right, Bala. Cooperative farming also takes away the problem of small farm sizes, which leads to economy.
Yeah,
Which leads
sorry.
no.
Yeah, Shan,
Yeah,
sorry, I have a question.
yeah, go ahead.
Sir, I just want to ask you, how can we replicate, like, we only know like two major, like Amul and Ledger, they are famous cooperatives in India. How can we replicate these models in other sectors, like you say, the fruits, or say, as you said, food grains, so that, India has like, we don't see such spirit and such models, which are great success stories in
Yes.
today's age and world. So, how do you think we should? What steps should we take so that we can replicate these models into other industries, considering that India is like on the 105th 7th level of hunger index? How to
Absolutely.
elevate poverty with such models?
I'll tell you today, the government is procuring for food grains, say paddy in Punjab, that's around 21, 22 rupees a kg. When the same government is not procuring in Bihar, where it is sold around 10 to 12 rupees a kg in the open market. That's a kind of a disparity. Now, the government has a problem. It has to spend 3 lakh crores of money to ensure that the basic food grain is produced. It is impossible to think that we can import food for 140 crore because we are the second large, we are the biggest, largest populated country in the world. It can't import food grain. So it has to be a sustainable model. The present way of doing things is not sustainable because last 40, 50 years, the comparative incomes of farms compared to a government job or a private sector job are consistently dropping. So therefore, the way is that ensure that we have to work out a way farmer gets more money. At the same time, the government does not subsidize. The government cannot handle this kind of a subsidy going for every year 3 lakh 4 lakh crores is a big burden. So how do we do that? Create a worthwhile farmers organization, support them for 10 20 years. That's what it did in 1971 when Operation Flood was supported. It was next 25 years, 1996 only it became the largest producer of milk in the world. But 25 years government supported not by money. They created farmers organization. They supported in terms of providing with no enough policy support. That's all farmers are asking. Today, if the farmer gets 40 rupees per paddy, if he runs his own cooperative or something like that, they are not going to sit on the road fighting for 1 year demanding prices. So the path is very clear. You need to replicate Amul. People
So
will
they
say,
need,
where is a Korean? Where is somebody else?
yeah.
Definitely, there is an issue. I wouldn't call that the idealistic life is there, but definitely out of 140 crore people, we can find 100, 200 people who can be dedicated to this cause. Put them on a mission mode like what Sam Pitroda did in his technology mission kind of a time. So support them for 10, for 15 years. The Indian farmers will happily produce. They
Hmm.
don't want the headache of taking the produce and all those things. If there is an organization which takes care of their income, farmers will produce.
It's
Okay.
about also the political will, right? Which is what lacking. So maybe
Yeah,
the
yeah.
political will is there. I think there can be more innovation and stuff.
See,
Thanks
when
a lot.
Gandhi wanted to create All India Village Industries Association, he got Sasi Raman, J.C. Bose, P.C. Ray. Look at the people he. Similarly, when Rajiv Gandhi wanted to bring in people, he got a Sam Pitroda, he got a Kurien. That's how it came. So, at a political level, will, which is what I think Mr. Sam correctly said, when there is a political will, you will find right people.
And I'm sure there are like such people with great experience, which we don't see nowadays, like coming
Yeah.
ahead. And if
See,
you have the political will, you can resolve these farmers' issues as well, like, and
yes,
with
exactly.
good pricing. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
So we need to understand why farmers are fighting, why farmers are sitting on the road for 1 year. They're not fools, right?
Hmm.
Nobody will want to sit on the road for 1 year. There is a problem, which means what? They're not getting enough income. So how do we make their income, increase their income better? Is a simple point which we need to organize. That is where a comparative study which says why this food grain production is not sustainable, why milk is sustainable in the sense milk has organized self-sustaining organizations which are taking care of the interests of the farmers. Food grains don't have.
Hmm.
Sounds
That
good,
is,
Bala. We are on the top of the hour, 1 hour 9 minutes, but we have got 299 viewers, live viewers this week, which is very
Okay.
interesting. I think we
Thank you.
got the Twitter integration issue fixed. Thanks, Rakesh Patel. So let's look forward for a different topic in this Gandhian Changemaker series next week. Looking forward to meet all of you along with Bala Priyamata. Take care. Bye, guys.
thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
sir.
Thank you,
Priyamada.
Bala.
Thank you,
Bala.
Shan. Yeah. Yeah.
Bye.